All right. Yo, Coach. What episode is this?
Coach, this is episode 28, Coach.
28, Coach. 28, Coach. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love this.
Me too.
How's your week been, man?
It's been solid. You know, busy as always. I've been hating this cold weather that we're getting in.
Yeah, man.
Like mid fucking April. That's kind of annoying.
It's called pneumonia season, Coach.
Yeah, I know everybody's getting sick left and right because the weather is more bipolar than my ex. So, yeah, tough scenes over here in the Chicagoland suburbs. But you know, we keep moving forward.
You could get away with saying that because your lovely girlfriend now, she's a fighter.
Oh yeah.
So you can get away with that shit because
Sure
if your girl wasn't a fighter, I would tell you you're gonna be in some shit. But your girl's a fighter, so I'm not concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, man, that was funny.
How about you, Coach? How's your week been?
It's been a hell of a week, Coach. Already, work has been kind of crazy. I built a fence. Well, along with family members and stuff like that, I built up a fence in my backyard. So that's been tedious over the weekend. And then Monday was full of household stuff, grocery shopping and shit like that. So yeah, it's been a hell of a week already. Work yesterday was crazy, dealing with a lot of special people outside.
Nice.
It's a lot of special people in the public. I just want to say, I'm not gonna say anything too much. I'm just gonna say they're very, very special out here in the public these days.
They sure
But yeah, I got home. I got about 4 hours of sleep, and here I am, ready to pod because I love you guys.
Yep, for the love of the pod, baby.
I love you guys.
Alrighty.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Let's get into it. Halftime give and go, baby.
Yes,
you know
sir.
how it goes. We don't really have to break this down to you, but you know how it goes. The halftime give and go. And number one on the docket, Coach, for you, Billy Donovan is a first ballot Hall of Fame coach, and he's going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if you're a college basketball fanatic, you saw this coming because of the influence he had at Florida. Just quick note on Florida. Of course, they won the national championship this last Monday that passed. But, the last Florida team that's won a national championship
Was coached by him.
Was Billy Donovan's Gators at that time. But I mean, yeah, he is a legendary coach nonetheless, right? Like, I mean, especially at the college level. At the NBA level, people could argue that he's underwhelming. He maybe has underachieved with maybe talented rosters, but nonetheless, he's still, I think, a good coach. I think, especially like in the college world, he's very much well respected, and I mean, he deserves his flowers. I mean, he's done a lot for Florida as a basketball program over there, and regardless of how things have looked in the NBA, I think he still does deserve this nomination and this induction into the Basketball Hall of Fame. But I think it will come with some implications for a certain franchise, but we will get into that in a quick few.
Yep. All right, moving on to the next part of the halftime give and go. Carmelo Anthony is also first ballot Hall of Famer.
Heck yeah.
I'm excited about this one
Yes.
because I think Carmelo doesn't get the love that he deserves a lot of the time. I think he's like one of those forgotten superstars where people just kind of like, they know he's great. They know he's a great basketball player, phenomenal talent, national championship winner at Syracuse, one of the most decorated Olympic athletes of all time when it comes down to basketball. I think outside of Kevin Durant, I think that's the only person that's more decorated than him in Olympic basketball play for the United States of America. Never won a championship, but did great things in Denver. It's still kind of petty that they allowed Jokic to get the number 15 when that was Carmelo's number when he went to Denver. So that's what I mean by like some of the smut that gets kind of thrown on him a little bit. But I'm very happy that he's going to the Hall of Fame first ballot, no questions. Nobody has to sit around and volley and ask, like, why didn't Carmelo make? I'm glad none of that stuff happened.
Yeah, I agree.
Because he is rightfully deserving of it. Had a great career, great basketball player from all the way from high school to college, all the way to the pros. So well-deserving Carmelo. I hope that you enjoy this time, get to celebrate with your family. And then as of right now, he'll be watching his son quickly make his way to the NBA as well, which is going to be a phenomenal thing to see because I think his son is very talented and is going to do well, similar to Gilbert Arenas' son, Elijah Arenas. I'm really interested to see how both of those two end up in the NBA.
Yeah, absolutely.
But congratulations, Carmelo. I don't think this is something that should be a shock to anyone, but again, congratulations to you.
Yep.
Moving on and staying with the Olympic team, the 2008 U.S. men's Olympic team has been also inducted into the class of 2025 Hall of Fame. Now, I don't really know how this shit works. I don't know how you induct an entire basketball team into the Hall of Fame. Like when they go up there for like the reward or something, is one person a representative? Do they all get jackets for this? Is this like a pendant situation? Like, I don't know how this works because I've never, me personally, I don't recall a situation where an entire roster of people were grouped together and classified as a Hall of Fame situation. So I don't know if they just get a plaque that says 2008 U.S. Olympics men's Hall of Fame team or what, but I think it's great. I think it's another way to celebrate Kobe. Honestly, that 2008 men's Olympic team was obviously moved and geared and operated, directed, orchestrated, empowered, motivated by Kobe Bryant. I think that was the last time he went to the Olympics, and that was a redeemed team, as they call it. You had the Dream Team with Michael Jordan in them, and the 2018 was the redeemed team. So now I would say that this sets a precedent for what potentially could happen for the 2024 Olympic team, because that team was also very loaded and put on a hell of a display, Coach.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So congratulations to the 2008 men's Olympics team for making the Hall of Fame as well.
Yeah, rightfully so.
And then moving on, Coach, the White Sox.
Yeah, we spoke about them post opening day, meaning we're talking about them like maybe 3-4 games into the season.
Yeah.
They are now a couple more games into the season. They're sitting at 2-8. They just lost to the Cleveland Guardians last night, 1-0.
Yeah.
I mean, it just hasn't been looking great. I didn't necessarily anticipate it looking great either, but like there were some more optimistic moments, I think, after that opening day win. And just to see the team kind of now, fall back into that form they were kind of getting into last year is very troubling. We would like to see them be more competitive as far as winning games, but you know what? Like a 1-0 loss, competitive game, right? I mean, maybe the hitting wasn't there that night, but the pitching and the defense was there as well. So I mean, you have your trade-offs, right? Maybe at least one thing's not going, but the other is, and then like you mentioned on that episode as well, like at least you could identify what's actually going on with the team, which I've been able to kind of see more and more compared to last year. Like you could kind of point out, this player isn't necessarily going to work out, or we need this, we need that. That's more easily identifiable this year than it was last year. So, I mean, that's the plus side. But, I mean, still nothing too optimistic about this season. But who knows? Hopefully soon heading in the right direction there.
All right. And then moving on, Alex Ovechkin sets the goal record, passes, Wayne Gretzky?
Yep, the great one.
The great one, the GOAT of national hockey play. Yep. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, breaks it, he gets $8.95. He does it against the Islanders. Wayne Gretzky's in attendance and his family. They made it a whole spectacle. Like they had banners prepared and freaking carpet prepared and everything for him. But no, it's rightfully deserved though. He did it. He actually broke the record in the same amount of games that Wayne Gretzky played. So it's not like,
and that's how you break. Oh, sorry, I wasn't supposed to interject, but that's how you break a record.
Yeah, and that's, it's different when you talk about guys like, LeBron, who's been in the league for like 20 plus years, and but you look at Ovechkin, he's played the same amount of games as Wayne Gretzky, and guess what? On that game where he tied the amount of games they played, he beats the record. So I mean, yeah, Ovechkin's been nothing but greatness throughout his entire career. It's been a treat to see him and Sidney Crosby just kind of upheld the entire league. During that time when they got drafted. Of course, you've had the developments through the 2010s and Patrick Kane, Chicago Blackhawks, and then you've had other stars come to rise now, and the NHL is more prominent than ever. But, when Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin got drafted, they weren't shit. You know what I mean? Like, the NHL was not where it was today, and we could really thank them for where it is today. And, there's nothing short of greatness. Like, he really is one of the most durable athletes ever, I would say. Being able to play for this long. He's 40 years old. Hockey's a very physical sport. We know that.
It is.
So,
it is.
Congrats to Alex Ovechkin and to his family. It's a insane milestone. Nobody thought anybody was going to come close to breaking it. I don't know if anyone ever will again either.
Records are meant to be broken.
True. So it'll be a lot harder because Alex Ovechkin was a hell of a goal scorer. So we will see. But yeah, I agree. They are meant to be broken.
This record might be like the 100 points in a game, like Wilt. Like one of those things where like you never think I don't think you'll ever see somebody score 100 points in one game.
Could be
like Wilt did.
I would consider it rather like LeBron passing Kareem in all-time points. Nobody thought.
I mean, like that idea. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Sure.
All right, moving on. Last but not least, the University of Florida. I'm just gonna keep it quick. I think nobody outside of Florida thought you guys were gonna win the national championship, and congratulations to you guys for getting it done. I mean, obviously Billy Donovan, Joakim Noah, Bradley Beal, and those guys probably thought you guys had a chance to win, but the American public. No, we did not think you guys had a chance to win. We thought you guys had a chance to make a nice little run in the March Madness tournament into the national championship game and maybe even get to the Final Four like you guys did was a possibility. But I had you guys casted as possibly going as far as the Elite Eight, and I was wrong. However, we're going to talk about certain things when it comes down to this Florida National Championship win, but we just want to say congratulations to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Congrats.
All right, that has been the halftime give and go, and now moving on to the halftime report. Oh, wait, no.
Oh.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
Oh, jeez, Coach.
I'm forgetting our game, Coach.
Oh, boy.
I'm forgetting our game.
Come on, though.
Our favorite game. What's our game, Coach?
It's who's cooking and who needs to stay the out the kitchen.
All right. Top of the morning to you. Number one, who's cooking? The UConn women's team Huskies. National championships for them. They won a national championship in convincing fashion. Beat South Carolina, which I didn't think that they were going to do. I actually thought South Carolina would be back-to-back national champions, but UConn came in and kind of proved that they were on a revenge tour. Last season, I felt like they felt that they had a chance to win the national championship last season, came up short, and I think this year they were hell-bent and set on making sure they walked away with a national championship. And this is great for Paige. I'm happy that she can potentially finish her collegiate career with a national championship and make her way into the WNBA.
Yeah, absolutely. No, she definitely deserves it. Paige Beckers is a hell of a college athlete and has been for quite some time now. She and the UConn just women's basketball program. They've been on top for so long as far as record wise going into the tournament every year. Like they always are one of the more favorited teams to win the national championship, and that's just goes to credit to show the athletic department over there and the coaching staff and how they're able to sustain such a winning program. So yeah, congrats to the UConn Huskies. Great team. Paige Beckers, great player. Yeah, they definitely deserve it, man. I'm happy for her. I'm happy for them.
All right, moving on to who else is cooking. Staying in college sports, though. Bringing them back up again. They're going to be a topic of discussion. The University of Florida men's basketball college team, they won the national championship. And, look, You have to play the competition that's in front of you, right?
Exactly.
As they say.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Auburn was missing one of their best players. They took care of Auburn, and they found themselves in the national championship game against the Houston Cougars. And they took care of that game, even though I thought that they potentially would not win that game. And it kind of felt like they weren't going to win that game for the entirety of it until you got to the last few minutes. I don't know what it is about March Madness and teams being able to close games, but something about closing them games when it's getting tight and tight and tight and the lights are getting brighter and brighter and brighter is just something that a lot of college athletes fall under pressure to. But congratulations to them. Congratulations to the University of Florida, the Gators basketball team, the men's basketball team. I'm sure a lot of them probably will be I won't retiring. A lot of them probably will be graduating and moving on to different things in their life. I'm not sure if they have many freshmen on that particular roster that just won the championship. So I'm assuming that they will be starting. I won't be like starting fresh, but they'll be starting a new development of freshmen, sophomores to slowly become the juniors and seniors that could potentially be ready to try to compete for another national championship in the next maybe 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you. I mean, I didn't expect them to go as far as they did.
Nope.
Of course, winning the game in general, like the national championship game, but even making it to the game, I also had, out of all four of the number one seeds, I had them being the one that would get upset more early on.
Yep.
That didn't happen, and more life to them. Congrats to them. That's great. I would really want to stay on the topic of these March Madness teams not being able to close out games and move on to my favorite portion of this game. Who needs to stay out of the kitchen?
Yeah.
And just staying on the topic of not being able to close games.
First one.
These Duke Blue Devils. Man.
They technically had that game.
That game was supposed to be signed, sealed, delivered. We made it to the national championship game. Everything's gonna be swell. But as we know, that did not happen.
No.
That did not happen.
No.
Cooper Flagg did everything he could that game. He did play well, but in that last 2-3 minute stretch, that team completely fell apart.
Well, they went on a drought.
Yes.
They went on a long scoring, a lapse of scoring. I mean, they scored based upon some free throws, but as far as like field goal scoring, they went on a long drought, and your boy was part of that. Cooper,
no, absolutely.
Cooper didn't stop that dry spell, which is one of the things. We'll get into it. We'll get into it, but that's kind of a little bit of my concerns about the whole Cooper Flagg train. But yeah, Duke couldn't close it out. I think there were some things at the end of that game that potentially they could have done well, and we'll discuss that when we get to the halftime adjustments later on for our Patreon.
Oh yeah,
as we plug that in. No shameless plug. We'll get into that. But I want to move on to the next team that also managed to let things slip away from them in the biggest game.
Yeah.
The Houston Cougars. Look, all I can say is I'm a big fan and a big proponent of I would rather lose in the game before the biggest one.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather not make it all the way to almost a finish line and then come in second place. I'm not a big fan of second place.
Yeah.
Honestly, I know people are probably like, why not? Because second place is just first to lose. I would rather just come in. If I'm gonna get a medal, I'd rather take the third place medal because at least I know I had no shot at the gold. But being in a position where I had a shot at the gold and I come up short is probably more damning to me and my competitive spirit. So for them, I know that they took this bad. I can see that they were all hurt. The coach, the players, like the fans. It was just a crazy, insane thing to watch. Just how that whole moment, you just could see the whole Houston side of things just felt like damn, we really just blew it. We really just blew it, and like it's no way other to say it than just that simple. Like they really just blew it, and it's so crazy because it's kind of reminiscent of the few times when like Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler were able to get to the Final Four in the national championship game, and they lost both of those years back to back. It's just kind of like, I don't know, man. Some structures, some schools, some organizations are just snake bitten with the ability to not finish.
Yeah, I mean, Houston has been that program for a while. Every year for them, it's heartbreak after heartbreak.
Yeah,
they are usually in the games they've lost the more favored team.
Yep.
Whether it's the Elite Eight, whether it's the second round, it's happened every year. Like they're always getting upset. They just can't. They can't close. They can't seal the deal. And this is the closest they've come in a while to actually, competing in the championship game. I think their last time was like not too long ago against, I forget who they played, but it was a short amount of time ago that they were in this game and also couldn't pull it out, and they got belt to ass that time around. So it's like I don't know what they need to figure out over there. I think Kelvin Sampson's a hell of a coach. I think they do a great job over there, but they got to find a way to win the games they're supposed to win.
I agree.
They did a great job beating Duke, but man, you got to win the games you're supposed to win, man. It's as simple as that.
Yep. All right, Coach. All right. That has been our game of who's cooking and who should stay the fuck out the kitchen. And now,
there you go.
And now, I'm waking up, Coach. I'm waking up. I got to get the gears moving. A little grace here. Moving on to the halftime report. Yeah. All right, first on the docket for the halftime report. We'll stay on topic with the college teams. UConn women's team and the University of Florida. They both win the national championship.
Yep.
My first question for you. Surprised or not surprised?
For UConn, not so much.
Okay.
I think they're always every year one of the more favored teams to win. Simply because of the coaching staff and the players that they are able to pull in and the players that have returned throughout the years. They've sustained a really great winning program over there, and to me it's not a surprise. Like South Carolina was has been the hot team for the past couple of years, especially after last year's win against Iowa. But yeah, I mean, not necessarily a surprise that UConn won. I mean, maybe in the way they won, more surprising. But
they're a powerhouse.
Yeah, they're just a powerhouse. You know what I mean? So nothing surprising to me there. The Florida game and just Florida winning the national championship game was a surpriser. The more surprising factor to me. Because even though, I had Duke going, I said whoever wins this Duke-Houston game is going to win the national championship. I just wasn't a believer in any...
We were wrong.
Yeah, like completely wrong. I just wasn't a believer in any team that was on the other side of the bracket in that Final Four, whether it was Auburn or Florida. But Florida came in, handled business, looked like a great team. They got another great thing going over there with their coach now. You know what I mean? And they got great history over there. So I'm sure, also being in Florida, it shouldn't be that hard to recruit as well and get guys in the transfer portal because they're just dropping like flies in the transfer portal nowadays. But yeah, I mean, the Florida situation is definitely more surprising to me than the UConn situation. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with your takes. I think UConn is a powerhouse. They have been dominating women's basketball, college basketball on a very consistent and high level for the past, I would say at least a good past 8-9 years. South Carolina has kind of swept in there and won some national championships to kind of like take away some of the steam that UConn women's basketball has been having, but they've had a stranglehold on college women's basketball for the longest of time. So I wasn't necessarily surprised. I did think that South Carolina could put up a better fight in that national championship game, but the UConn's women's team just came in and did what? Put belt to motherfucking ass.
Yeah.
on the South Carolina team. So it is what it is when it comes down to that. But the Florida win, I agree with you, was 100% surprising. Again, neither one of us had them going that far. And it looked for the longest of time that they were still going to lose that game. So the fact that they won it was just crazy, because for the most part things were going the way that I had kind of projected. When we first started talking about March Madness, we gave our predictions. And four of the teams that I thought could win was obviously St. John's, Duke, Michigan was my, one of my picks. And then me and you both agreed that the University of Houston couldn't be counted out and they could be a potential team to win the national championship, even though they weren't like our favorite pick.
Yeah.
We still gave them high consideration for being able to get the job done. And for none of those teams to end up being the one to win, and Florida winning is a little like, God damn.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is really indicative of why you have to play the game.
Yeah.
Right? As coaches tell all of our athletes and our kids when we're coaching them, it's like, no matter what competition you're going against, no matter what the team looks like, no matter what the odds are, you still got to roll the ball out there and play. Because when you get out there and you're playing with maximum effort and you're doing everything you can to potentially win, anything is possible to happen. Literally.
Yeah.
So when you put yourself in a position where you're prepared, you're not nervous, you're not scared, you're confident, and you have a lot of confirmation in what you're trying to do, anything is possible. That's why you have to play the game. But when I think about that, it makes me want to ask you this. Should the NCAA consider potentially moving to a format that for at least the Final Four, it's a best out of 3 series, and then for the national championship, it's a best out of 3 series? Should they consider that? Now, for the entirety of the tournament, obviously not. Right? For the entirety of the tournament,
no, of
fuck no.
Yeah.
You shouldn't do that. But should they consider Final Four and the national championship being a best out of 3 series for that?
It's an interesting question, and it's a good one because I'm sure it's been a question that the NCAA has pondered with for quite some time. But I ultimately don't think that it will end up happening. Me personally, as a basketball fan, would I like to see it happen? Of course, because I think that's how you could actually see who the better team is, not versus the team who just had the better night. But I think the NCAA wants to preserve what March Madness is. It's madness, right? I mean, you gotta show up on any given night, and you have to be able to compete. Doesn't matter if you're having a bad shooting performance night. Doesn't matter if the players are, just lackadaisical and just tired and all these other factors. You still got to go out and play. If not, then your tournament's over.
But you still get the madness aspect of it. It's just that you tailor that, you temper it.
Yeah,
when it comes down to the Final Four and the national championship.
No, and I agree. Yeah. But I think even in the Final Four and in the championship game, I think it still makes it madness and puts so much higher stakes on those games. Is because really, you get, for example, this year you get the 4 number 1 teams in the Final Four. It's one game. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why, Houston beating Duke was like, oh my God. Like, wow. Like, I didn't see this happening really.
Yeah, but I still think you get the same effect because whoever loses that first game, the next game is an elimination game.
Yeah, but I mean, regardless, like, I think even in a best of 3 series, I think the better team will come out on top simply because adjustments would be made. Better shooting nights would happen,
but it also prepares them for like professional level of playoffs.
No, that's very true, and I see that upside as well. So I mean, like, I'm not junking on the idea or anything. I think it's a great idea.
You're just saying like the NCAA will probably never do that for the sake of the brand of March Madness.
Yeah, I mean, it like literally March Madness is like a brand in and of itself now. You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying.
Like, nobody is calling it like the NCAA men's tournament. It's just March Madness. You know what I mean?
Right.
When it's on TV. So no, I agree. I think it'd be a good idea. I think it'd be so fun to watch. But ultimately I think it'd be hard for that to actually materialize and happen.
All right, moving on to our next segment of the halftime report. Billy Donovan. Circling back to our good old Billy Donovan.
Good old Billy.
He's a Hall of Fame coach now. And man, I hate this. Because just in Bulls fashion, they will use this as a reason as to why you don't move on from a coach like Billy. And why the Bulls are in great hands, because we don't just have any coach, we have a Hall of Fame head coach, right? I think this allows the Bulls to continue this game of mediocrity in our face, because they have the resumes in front of us that tells us we should be getting higher productivity. And it'll come. We just have to wait. It's a process. It takes time. But based upon the people that we have in house and their resumes, that things will turn around and the ship will be righted and the Bulls will be on a winning path again. And if you're a Bulls fan, now you are in a situation where keeping Billy Donovan is more highly likely. And it's something that the organization can easily force you to digest, because he's not just Billy Donovan. He's Hall of Fame basketball coach Billy Donovan. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, I mean, like we mentioned in the halftime give and go, like I think he definitely deserves it, no doubt. But I second your comments there as far as like what the Chicago Bulls are going to be able to do essentially now. Whether it's in the whole coaching search time during the NBA,
right?
And we see people getting fired left and right that have had success, have won championships, have had winning records, and they're getting fired. It does make it harder to fire somebody because they're a Hall of Fame head coach, right? Like that's a easier thing to sell upon somebody. It's like, oh yeah, well, he's a Hall of Fame head coach. You know what I mean? We just got to give him the right tools, and he'll make it work because he's in the Hall of Fame. Like,
right.
At that point, you're putting him on a pedestal with guys like Greg Popovich and coaches like this. Like, I'm not saying that he's anywhere near that caliber, which is, I don't think so, but that's what the Chicago Bulls organization is now going and is now, Jesus, I can't talk. Wow. Is now going to be able to argue is simply that they have this Hall of Fame head coach on their hands, so why move on from him? Like, doesn't matter who the candidate is coming in, but like, why?
Yeah.
Why move on? You know what I mean? It's like there's no reason for them to. It's like, okay, well, we got him. He could grow. He'll grow this team. He'll develop them because he's Hall of Fame. I think that's literally going to be the reason for everything now. It won't be a matter of like what the team has actually done. It's just going to be like, well, Billy's Hall of Fame, so.
And I think that's the most disturbing thing about this process.
And it's frustrating too as a Bulls fan, because we've seen even when he had a capable roster
in Oklahoma.
And in Oklahoma.
And arguably you could say I don't want to say he had a capable roster, because I'm a big believer that DeMar DeRozan stifled what potentially could have been a more viable and competitive team with the Lonzo Ball, Zach LaVine, Vucevic, Kobe White situation. I think Kobe White could have been further along in his development as somebody next to Zach. Without DeMar DeRozan being here.
I completely agree with you about the whole DeMar DeRozan thing. So yeah, but I mean, maybe not capable, but competent team, I would say at that time.
Yeah, okay, yeah. There was competency,
and not being able to kind of piece it together and kind of have guys play certain roles. It's like, dang, you know what I mean? It's frustrating as a Bulls fan to see that happen. Now we have the team that we have now. You know, like we're gonna make the play in and do all this stuff. Maybe even sneak into the first round of the playoffs, and Billy's going to keep his job because he did this much with this little, and recently inducted in the Hall of Fame. Like, it's like, yeah, cool, man, but like, I want to win. Like, I don't want to just be like mid as hell for like the next 20 years.
Man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's upsetting because I know how the Bulls are going to spin it because they're spin masters. I'm happy. Again, I don't want to sound sour like it's not good to have a Hall of Fame coach, but he's been, like you stated earlier, his professional career has been very underwhelming.
Yeah.
What you thought you were going to get from a Billy Donovan coming into the pros based upon what his college resume said was that you thought you were going to get a coach that could lead you to championships at some point. Obviously, it takes time to get used to the professional level. You need, obviously, a certain caliber of talent. But he walked into Oklahoma City with some of the best talent in NBA history.
Yeah.
And couldn't get the job done at all. Then you come to the Chicago Bulls with a competent roster that you could have got more out of because arguably, I would say that Eric Spoelstra, with the roster that the Bulls had, he probably could have got us to a semi round of the Eastern Conference playoffs at minimum, right?
I think so.
At minimum, he would have been able to squeeze talent and squeeze the most out of everybody on that roster. So it's just kind of like when you're looking at things from that perspective, you just kind of go, here we are, stuck with the Billy Donovan situation. Now, my best hope is that he moves to a GM situation. And the reason why I hope he moves into the GM situation because it segues into the next part of the halftime report, which is another coach who has been fired weeks before the NBA playoffs are set to begin, and that is the Denver Nuggets head coach, Mike Malone. Mike Malone has been fired from the Denver Nuggets, and we have no idea why. Wrong, we do. As we've stated before in our previous episodes, I forgot exactly which episode it was. It was earlier, I think not earlier on, but it was episodes prior where we had the Denver Nuggets on the Who Should Stay Out the Kitchen portion. And I explicitly stated that with this team, there was something missing. There was some cohesion missing, some cohesiveness missing. There was something that just wasn't looking right. It was almost like those guys wasn't playing together. I don't know if it was I remember I was saying, like, I don't know if it was the addition of Russ.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was Jamal Murray having to get back healthy. But it was something I could just see something was missing. There was something that wasn't right about this Denver team. And I just felt like that 2023 season maybe was the peak. Like, they won the championship and they were only going to go backwards from here.
Yeah.
And that was my opinion. Like, they're only going to falter. They're not going to get better. And some people that I've had conversations with after that season thought that Denver could go on a run. And when Boston quickly got to the finals and won the championship that year, and I think there were some injuries that Denver had to deal with that season anyway in the playoffs. But when Boston got to the championship game and I saw what Boston did and I saw how Denver was looking, I was just kind of, turning my head on like, yeah, I think I'm right about this. I think they were a team that just caught fire at the right time, was able to make magic happen, got to the NBA Finals, and did what they were supposed to do when they got there. But they maximized who they were. Not to mention, I don't think they calculated what the losses of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Bruce Brown would do to their offense, would do to their defense, and would do to the cohesiveness of their team. I think those were some miscalculations to believe that Bruce Brown and KCP will be easily replaceable. A lot of the times, the glue guys are exactly what they are.
Yeah.
Right? And you think you can penny pinch on the glue guys because they're not your superstars, but you need them just as much as your superstars. And I think the guys who play an intricate part of making a team needs to be respected a little bit more. But staying on brand or staying on topic with Mike Malone being fired, rumors are that he got let go because, one, there was some concerns about his lack of playing some of the younger players. So here you go with that type of situation.
Sure. Yep.
And then reportedly, Jokic wasn't necessarily happy with, I guess, the defensive strategies and the fight of the team. And it just kind of felt like maybe Mike Malone's message was no longer hitting players. And the last rumor is that there has also been, over the past couple of years, some tension between ownership, between ownership, the GM, and Mike Malone as well. So they're kind of writing this off as if this was something that was already in the makings to be. It just so happened that they decided to do this 5 games before the fucking playoffs.
Yeah, no. I don't know what it is with these NBA teams this year and wanting to do this when they've got playoff teams right in front of them. It's very confusing. It's very troubling. I don't, what I heard as well is that he's just lost the locker room and the players don't want to listen to him anymore.
Yeah.
And they're just done with him. How much do I believe that? A bit, but I also think it's the egos that are on that Denver Nuggets team. Like, to say that it's like, for this Denver's Nuggets ownership to come out and essentially say, like, no, like, you're the problem.
Yeah.
And not the actual complexion of the team is, I think, very disrespectful, for one, because, he did bring this team to a championship. And, the year before that, like, they've been a successful team in the past couple of years with this roster. So why the disbelief now? When really I would argue that the players just need to play better and they need to play more together. Like, that's just my take on, like, I just don't think this was a justified firing in no way, shape, or form. Like, when I saw the report from Shams, I'm like, what is going on? It doesn't make sense. Like, I don't. This late into the season too, he actually he tied like the latest coaching fire in season for like NBA history. Like, this is the latest the coach has ever been fired. Like, he's tied for that, and it's crazy to think about because it's not like this guy's like your random schmuck like Darvin Ham was. You know what I mean? Like. And even Darvin Ham didn't get fired until, after the season, right? Like, but here we are with Mike Malone, for 5 and 4 games before the NBA playoffs and getting let go like that. It's crazy. I personally think this Denver Nuggets team is probably just going to get blown up at this point.
Yeah, that's my conspiracy theory.
Because they're going to not have a good playoff at all. Yeah. I don't think whoever steps in as interim head coach is going to be able to do much with this roster. Some rejuvenation and some new energy isn't going to do much for this team at this point.
Yeah, that's my conspiracy theory. My conspiracy theory is that they are planning to blow the team up, and that was already in the makings. Like, I think they were looking at the way that the season was going and the way that they were projected to not necessarily win a championship. And there are heavily conversations about, well, we don't want to continue to go into the luxury tax for a team that's not going to win championships. We're Denver. We're not the Los Angeles Lakers. So we have to figure out, how do we basically get to a point where we just say what we've seen is all that we need to know. Mike Malone is not going to be interested in coaching a team that's not competitive. Calvin Booth, we appreciate your time being here, but we've kind of ran the course with your vision, and we've been able to maximize your vision, and we got a championship out of it. But now we're going to plan on moving Jokic. We're going to plan on moving Murray. We're going to plan on moving Michael Porter Jr. Maybe we keep MPJ because he can be the young player that we can add around the other guys. But I think Murray and Jokic will definitely be on their way. Just a quick question for you. If Jokic is on the move,
Chicago.
I was just going to ask you that. If Jokic ends up on the move, Do you think Arturis puts everything on the table to get Jokic, and potentially even if Billy Donovan decides to take a GM role, because Mark Eversley could also leave and find himself a president role, if Billy Donovan moves up to GM, are we looking at a deal where we find Mike Malone and Jokic in Chicago?
I would love it, and I think it would absolutely be the right move. I would love to see it materialize. I don't think the sports books are saying that right now that it's going to happen. He's actually more favored to play for the Los Angeles Lakers next year, apparently, but they like to do that with any superstar that ends up, like, quote unquote, becoming available. So, I mean, yeah, I would love to see him go to Chicago. I think it's very feasible. I think it's a doable acquisition. They would have to give up all their youth, most likely. You give up Giddey. You give up guys. I can't even. Of course, you're giving up Patrick Williams. You're probably giving up multiple firsts. You might even have to end up giving up Kobe White. In order for them to actually want to make the deal, which I wouldn't want to do at that point if we're going to get Jokic, because we would need shooters around him. But yeah, like, I think it's a very doable deal, and I would love for Mike Malone to come in and still be with Jokic. Like, I don't think necessarily the disconnection is between Jokic and Mike Malone. I think they both have a mutual respect towards one another, and I think
agree.
they do both very like one another. So, I mean, all these reports I've been hearing, I think, are BS. I just think there's big egos in the locker room. I just think there's massive egos in the locker room, and shoot, I would love it. Jokic loves Chicago, man. He came out and said that one time, like, the Serbian, this is the largest Serbian population in the U.S., and every time he plays in the United Center, like, he could always hear them chanting in Serbian and all this stuff. So, I mean, I don't think he'd be opposed to it either. So, I'm interested to see how it all plays out. I think this offseason in the NBA is going to be really interesting as well, like the NFL was, in my opinion. Yeah. I think a lot of things happen, and I'm excited for both seasons to start next year. I just want to be there already, like, for both years. I don't care about this year in the NBA. What happens?
Because it almost feels like they're writing this narrative for a LeBron James and Bronny championship, so a father and son duo can win one.
And you know what?
And I'm not interested. in that.
I don't care for that. Yeah,
but this lends to my conversation when we were having that debate about the interest in the international players. And when I was telling you that if you're the NBA and you're thinking about expanding your league and trying to get like an NBA Euro League, the best thing for you to do would be to position your international stars in bigger markets.
Yeah.
And that I felt like it's going to look like, for a period of time, the American superstar is going to be stuck playing in the markets like Minnesota, stuck playing in the markets like Denver, stuck playing in the markets like Atlanta. And the international players are going to be the ones that's going to infiltrate the New Yorks, the Chicagos, the LAs, and the Miamis and different things like that. And if Jokic is the first monopoly to fall, because Giannis has already been talking about how I want to see more international players in New York. I want to see more international players in Chicago.
I mean, shoot, we got Luka in LA now, right?
We already got Luka in LA, right? We already got Luka in LA. It started. We already got Luka in LA, and I'm not saying that I am a oracle or something, or that I'm a fortune teller, but we have been spot on this show between both of us about a lot of different things and watching it happen in real time. And so when I'm looking at this and I'm watching how this is facilitating, I am assuming, my conspiracy side of me is saying, things are being set up to move certain players into certain markets because we are going to use these players as we grow internationally. And the best way to do this is to put them in our bigger markets. So now you got Luka in LA. Do you get Jokic in Chicago? Do you end up with Giannis in New York with the Knicks or Miami? Right? Do you end up moving SGA? Does he go home to Toronto, or does he go to Miami? Does he go somewhere else? Right? Or does Joel Embiid get traded and he ends up in Golden State to end off his career, where he can finally be with a team that could utilize his dominance for the best part of his career with shooters and all this stuff around him? Because Jimmy Butler is already there.
Yep.
and that's somebody that he loved playing with.
Yep.
So I'm just saying when you look at the,
I don't think you're crazy, Coach. That's all I'm going to say.
My conspiracy hat is on.
Yeah.
My conspiracy hat is on, and I know some people probably be like, look at this dude telling fables. But I'm telling you, things get orchestrated this way.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely, man.
All right. Moving on to the halftime predictions. Yeah. I'm not gonna rap, but I just wanted to get that off.
Okay.
Oh my God, you're a hater. You're such a hater.
Generational.
All right. Generational hater.
That's me. Me, myself, and I.
All right, the NBA play-in, Coach.
Yep.
It's coming.
It sure is.
The NBA play-in is coming. There you see in the West, anybody can fall.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
man.
anybody can fall from 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pretty much the only teams that's locked in at 9 and 10 is pretty much like Sacramento and Dallas. One of them is going to be 9. One of them is going to be 10.
Yeah.
The Eastern Conference is not as thick. The Bulls have a chance to go all the way up to 7, but as of late, they have been resting players and keeping some players out of games. So they're most likely going to end up where they are, which is in the 9th spot. They could potentially slide up to 8, but I don't think that's going to happen. So you're looking at a play-in of potentially the Bulls, the Magic, Atlanta on the east side. And then on the west, you're looking at a play-in that could potentially be the Lakers, could potentially be Golden State, potentially be Dallas. Obviously, you're going to have Sacramento, could be the Clippers. Who do you think is going to end up being 7, 8, 9, 10 respectively in both conferences?
So in the East, with how things stand right now, Orlando is 7, Atlanta is 8, Chicago is 9, Miami is 10. I think it's gonna stay just like that. Okay. Orlando is 2 games ahead of Atlanta, having played 79 games. So Orlando would really just have to lose out, and Atlanta would have to win out in order to jump that number 7 spot. I believe Chicago is a couple of games back from Atlanta. I don't necessarily.
We're 1 game behind Atlanta.
Yeah, and I mean, the team has been playing great as of late. No doubt about it. And I think they're like 10 or 11-4 in their last like 15 games or something, which, great, good for them, whatever. But I don't see Atlanta just like falling off a cliff or falling off too much. If I'm the Bulls, I'd rather play that 9 and 10 game.
Why?
Against Miami. I mean,
I think the Bulls need 2 cracks at it. I think if you play Miami in that first game, because the 9 and 10 is an elimination game.
Yeah.
So I think if you play Miami in that 9 and 10 game, there's a chance you lose. I think you need 2 shots at it. I think they have a better chance of surprising.
8?
Yeah, I think they got a better chance of surprising Orlando in that first game.
Yeah, it's very true. They have competed very well with Orlando all year. Yeah. That's a team every single time we do play them. It is a pretty close game, or we do win convincingly.
Yeah,
that's
so
been
I
kind of the story.
I think they got a better chance of surprising Orlando due to their pace and the amount of additional shooting that they have in comparison to Orlando. Playing Miami is pretty much playing a similar team. Plus, Bam Adebayo is going to run Vucevic off the court. And Jalen Smith is not yet just ready to put up the type of offensive numbers. Now, you can do a Zach Collins, Jalen Smith type of game against Bam Adebayo where you're using Zach and Jalen versus Vucevic if you're Billy Donovan. That might be a game that Vucevic is probably the least played center, and you just kind of use him for spot minutes because that game is going to be very fast-paced. If I'm Miami, I'm trying to get up and down and try to dog the Bulls if Vucevic is on the floor.
Yeah.
So you probably have to play speed with speed, and that could be a very fun and entertaining game. But I think Eric Spoelstra has proven time and time again that he can outcoach Billy Donovan. Now, people may argue and say, well, Billy Donovan doesn't have to worry about the diva of DeMar DeRozan. He doesn't have to worry about the diva of Zach LaVine. So maybe he might be able to get guys to buy into whatever he wants them to do for that game and follow the game plan and not break things. We don't know. That's left to be seen. But I think they have a better chance of being an 8 And if they do win that game against Orlando, then they'll bump up to 7, which gives them a chance to play Boston in the first round instead of Cleveland. And I think if you're looking at their roster, they match up better with Boston than they do Cleveland as far as personnel. Right? You got better matchups. You can put I guess in that starting lineup, you got Patrick on Jason Tatum, or you got Buzelis on Tatum, and you put Patrick on Jaylen Brown. Then you got Giddy and Kobe trying to guard Drew and Derek White, and Vucevic is on Porzingis. That's probably your best opportunity of a matchup to try to play against Boston, but it gives you a better chance. When it comes down to Cleveland, Cleveland is just way too big. You got Allen, you got Mobley, now you got DeAndre Hunter. You got Garland and Donovan Mitchell. Kobe cannot guard Donovan Mitchell. Josh Giddey can guard Garland. You don't want Kobe trying to guard DeAndre Hunter, and neither one of them damn sure can guard Evan Mobley.
No.
So I think the matchup works favorably.
Yeah, I could see
a lot better. Now you can mismatch some things with the Bulls, but Billy Donovan is used to doing certain things with a starting lineup. So I don't see him starting like a Jalen Smith, Buzelis, and Vucevic, or Zach Collins type of thing, or mix of that. So you're going to get what you get from the Bulls. So I think they have a better matchup against Boston. So if I were them, I would try to push to see if you can get that AC to play Orlando in the play-in first.
Yeah, which is very doable. And I think Chicago, in these last 3 or 4 games that are left, they'll play well. They might win 2 or 3 of them.
Right.
And put some real heat on Atlanta. It's really just gonna depend to me on how Atlanta does.
Yeah.
If they fall off, I'm sure Chicago will sneak in to that 8th seed. But if not, Atlanta will stay.
Well,
to go for the Western Conference now. Right now, as it stands, of course, that 3-way tie for 3rd place. Which is crazy. But it is Memphis at 7. It's Minnesota at 8. It's Sacramento at 9, and it's
Dallas at 10.
Dallas at 10. Dallas will stay at 10. Sacramento will stay at 9. Minnesota will stay at 10 or stay at 8. The number 7 seed is what I'm not really too confident about. I think with what just happened with the Denver Nuggets, I would not be surprised if they fall to 7. I would not be surprised at all.
And the Warriors take what, 5? They move up to 5, and the Grizzlies end up at 6.
Yeah, that's a very possible combination there. I also see a world where maybe Memphis stays where they're at too, because they did just get rid of their coach too. So anything's possible at this point.
Let me ask you this. Do you think the Clippers can get to the 3rd seed and the Lakers end up in the 4th spot and you get a first round of Lakers-Warriors in the first round?
I would love that. I don't think the Clippers are going to jump the gun and win out per se.
47-32, and the Lakers are 48-31.
So, I mean, they've both played 79 games then. So, I mean, pretty much everybody has 3 games left.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah, it's going to be really entertaining to see how the rest of the season plays out these past couple games. I'll be watching for sure. I've been kind of tuned down watching every single game every night, but I'm telling you what, man, these next 3 games I will be watching. But, yeah, I do think, just my prediction, I think Denver could definitely slide to 7.
Okay.
Maybe even to 8 if Minnesota catches some fire, because they're only 1 game back from being that whole 3rd place race. You know what I mean? So it's like, shoot, if Denver loses out and Minnesota wins out or wins 2,
so let me ask you this.
There, man.
If Denver slides to 7 and you got a Denver, let's say it's Denver, Memphis, Denver at 7, Memphis ends up at 8, because these are 2 teams that both lost their coaches.
Oh, and Minnesota goes up to like 6.
And Minnesota goes up to 6, and the Warriors goes up to 5. So now you got to play in of Denver, Memphis, Sacramento, and Dallas. Who becomes your 7 and 8 seed out of that play-in tournament?
Denver would become the 7th seed.
Because you think they would beat Memphis that first game, okay.
And Sacramento would beat Dallas.
Okay, so then Sacramento beats Dallas. So now you got a game of Memphis versus Sacramento for the 8th seed.
Memphis versus Sacramento for the
Who
8th
wins
seed.
that? Who wins that 8th seed to play?
I don't know, man. I feel like Sacramento could do it, man. I feel like Sacramento would do it.
You think Sacramento can get Memphis out of here?
I think Zach LaVine's gonna drop 40 points that game, and I'm gonna be like, I told you so.
Well, he's been playing lights out.
He has, man, and
he's been going nuts as of late.
So I mean, I don't know. I do think that Sacramento team isn't too bad. I just don't think they have a point guard.
They don't. Well, they have one. They're not playing him. It's Markelle Fultz,
right? Yeah,
and they're not utilizing him.
That's what I mean. Like they're trying to do the whole thing with Zach and DeMar, and then I think Sabonis is a hell of a player.
Yeah, they're using Sabonis like their point guard in a way in a half court,
essentially
in a half court, and then Malik Monk and Keon Ellis they're using them as like their point scoring guard.
Yeah.
But they have transitioned the team to not be so Sabonis centric over the last, and then Sabonis kind of came out and said like he needs to see how things are gonna go because he's not liking the way directions are going for him right now. Of
course not, man. This is the NBA. Everybody's a softie nowadays.
So but that's another international player.
Yeah, that's very true. That might be on the move somewhere.
You know where he could be nice at? Not gonna lie, playing right next to Bam.
Oh yeah, in Miami. Yeah, that'd be nice.
That'd be a nice little
big
move.
Market. Yeah.
You can move Bam to power forward and let Sabonis play center. That's a nice little combination.
That is very true. That would be nice. Man. I think with the Eastern Conference, I'm not necessarily too pumped to watch these next couple games just because I think it'll kind of remain where it's at.
Where it is. But the West is shaky.
The West, and you could jump all the way up to 3 if you're at 7 right now. And
if you just go on a high streak and a couple teams lose.
But shoot, Minnesota could even jump the gun if some of these teams lose. You know what I mean? Agree. And they might end up at 4 or 5. So
I agree.
I'm really excited, and yeah, it's gonna be a wild next week of basketball.
All right, Coach. How you feel about this episode? It's been a good episode, I think.
Good episode. I'm loving the love we've been showing to all these different winners.
Yeah.
And all the shade we're throwing at losers.
Yeah, because that's what we do. Yeah, it's the halftime, baby.
Yes, sir.
We win. We love winners. And we learn from losses. So we will hope that the people that we give a little shade to for their losing, that we offer you a little bit of critique and you can learn to, do better so you don't have to get told to stay the fuck out the kitchen.
Yep.
But to our fans and to everybody that's watching, we thank you for all your support. We continuously, as we say all the time, we need you guys to follow everything we're on. We need you to follow our Instagram, our TikTok, subscribe on YouTube. Don't just watch our clips. Don't just watch our reels. Don't just follow us on Instagram. Take the time out to push that notification bell and subscribe on YouTube so you can get everything you need to know about the halftime whenever we're dropping a new episode, because we need you guys to subscribe, because as you help us, we can continue to give you this great and wonderful content that you appreciate week in and week out. Again, just a reminder, we're also still on Apple. We're also on Spotify. We're also on Amazon. Anywhere you need to find your podcast listening. If you're not an individual who likes to watch things on YouTube, we are on all your DSP platforms for podcasting.
Yep.
And last but not least, we want to mention to you guys that we already have a Patreon episode up. We want you guys to tune into the Patreon, become members of our Patreon, watch the Patreon episode. It's great content. We're working on more content to load up there as well, and we will be having a new Patreon episode coming soon, so please to get to our Patreon, become a member there, so that way you can get some of this fresh, dope content that's exclusively outside of our normal broadcast of the halftime show that we do every week. Anything you want to add to that, Coach?
Yeah, man. On the Patreon, you won't find these exclusive segments, I like to call them, whether it's the halftime conversations, whether it's halftime adjustments, which we haven't done in a while,
or the halftime court where we just simply just debate it out,
where we just get to yell at each other and get our producer in trouble with his landlord here. But yeah, I mean, no, we definitely appreciate all the support everybody has been showing so far, and we hope that continues, especially on the Patreon, and then also subscribing on YouTube. We're slowly but surely moving our way up, and couldn't be more thankful for the ride it has been so far. And yeah, I'm excited to see where it continues to go. But yeah, please tune into the Patreon. It's the Halftime Podcast on Patreon. $5 a month. Just little small contribution, and you get access to very exclusive content, whether that's exclusive segments, maybe it's more player interviews or coach interviews, things of that nature, like us breaking down film, which would be the halftime adjustment. So yeah, please do so. Please keep liking on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Reels, yada yada yada. Listen on our DSPs, and we appreciate the love, man. We appreciate it.
All right. This has been another episode of the Halftime Podcast, episode 28. I'm Coach Malcolm.
And I'm Coach Conrad.
And as always, you know how we do. Bear down and see red, baby. Yeah.